Listen, I don't want any more bullshit.
Ooh, what's up? What's up, fellow Colts fans? It's your man once again, Harkon Ajala, and I want to welcome you to the one and only world famous official bullshit-free Colts podcast. Man, what a fucking game we have to talk about today. Phillip Rivers leads your beloved Colts to a 21-point comeback win over the Cincinnati Bengals, 31-27. And in the process, Phillip Rivers tells the haters, Rex Ryan, a towel, to kiss his fucking ass. Phillip Rivers admitted that he went out and purposefully read all of the shit that y'all wrote about him last week in the newspapers, on the blogs, etc. And he said, and I quote, "I thought y'all was pretty dang fair." In other words, that's down home good old boy Phillip Rivers speak for you motherfuckers hating. And you know what? I can show y'all better than I can tell y'all. So Phillip went out and did his fucking thing yesterday with a line of 371 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, and again, a 21-point comeback. The Colts were down 21 points by the beginning of the second quarter, and Phil led them all the way back with a brilliant game, some incredible throws, a couple of touchdowns where he really put it right on the money. It was a beautiful thing to behold, no doubt. Yes, even with the interception, because I saw why he threw the interception. It wasn't the greatest pass, but to be honest with you, the defensive player made a fucking incredible break on the ball. He would have had another like 45 or 50-yard touchdown, but he just overthrew Marcus Johnson, who was 4 or 5 steps behind his defender and like 5 yards away from the end zone. But either way, Phil did his damn thing yesterday, and I was glad to see it. Because I told all y'all last week, I said it to Zach Kiefer, I said it to Stephen Holder, I said it to Dan Dakich, I said it to other media all last week. I get it. I know you're trying to get clicks and attention, but you're fucking overreacting. The team is 3-2. Phillip Rivers has played fine in all 3 wins and wasn't all that bad in that first loss against Jacksonville, but, he did make a couple of bad throws, so I'll give you those 2. He wasn't great, and he was trash in the second half against Cleveland, no doubt about it. But this whole thing of run him out of fucking town and put in Jacoby Brissett and where's Jacob Eason, get rid of him, he's a waste, he's a bust, he's washed up. That shit was very, very premature, and I told all y'all that. But you know what? You didn't listen to me, that's cool. You had to listen to Phil, because Phil let you know, this is who I am, this is what the fuck I do, baby. And that was a big, big win for the Colts. Not only was it a win that put them at 4-2, going into the bye, where they're going to be able to enjoy the week off, going into it with a win, and afterwards, looks like they might be getting back Michael Pittman Jr., and maybe even getting back my guy that I can't wait to see, Kamiko Toure. But they'll have the maniac Darius Leonard back as well, and that defense needs him in the middle because the linebackers have been struggling a little bit without him covering that middle of the field. And let that be a lesson to y'all. Look, I understand that, the media's got to get clicks and you got to get listeners, and fans are fucking by definition overreactors. But just remember, next time, before you get all caught up in a narrative, make sure you pay attention to the signal and not get lost in the noise. I'm going to give you a quick story about that a little later and how that applies to our good friend Phillip Rivers. But first, as always, let's jump into the segment of the podcast where we go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of yesterday's game with the Bengals. All right. Now, the first thing that was yesterday is pretty fucking obvious. Franchise mode, Phillip Rivers showed up. And, that's a great thing because after last week's second half against the Browns, people were criticizing Phillip Rivers pretty fucking harshly. And that was earned. Like, he deserved that criticism. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying he didn't deserve that criticism. What I'm saying is, it's a difference between saying he was fucking trash against the Browns in the second half and saying the dude is trash. He's washed up. He's no good. He can't play anymore. But you know what? Either way, doesn't matter. Because like I said, fucking King Kong franchise mode, knife across the throat, shit talking. Phillip Rivers showed up yesterday. He balled out, no doubt about it. Not only did he ball out, but he took command of the field. He took command of the offense. You could see him checking out of the wrong plays and into the right plays. He was fucking accurate as fuck. He showed touch. His arm strength was on display. So a lot of people, myself included, who were really concerned about his arm strength, he showed yesterday he's good to go. He might not have a fucking cannon anymore, but he can definitely put the ball where it needs to be put, especially on the deep ball. So, what can we say? Phillip Rivers saved that game yesterday. He put that Colts team on his back and really won that game for them, and maybe even saved their fucking season, because if they'd have lost that game yesterday and dropped to 3-3 at this point with what's coming up in their schedule, that could have sent them into a spiral. So, it's not hyperbole. I'm not overhyping it to say how important and massive the game that Phillip Rivers put up yesterday. And I gave you the fucking numbers. So, as they say, people lie, numbers don't. He was insane yesterday. Another good thing, my man Julian Blackman, every fucking week, this dude is showing up. And yesterday he makes another impact play. As a matter of fact, the game-saving play comes up with an interception in the end of the game to win it when the Cincinnati Bengals were driving, trying to get a winning touchdown. And Julian comes up with the interception to win it on a great anticipation and read of the quarterback, and then break on the ball. He's a ball-hawking safety. I remember when they drafted him, and they were talking about how thrilled they were to get him. And as is often the case, there was a lot of head scratching and side eye going on throughout the league. They were like, I don't know, seems like this might be a little too high for this guy, particularly with the fact that he's injured and so on and so forth. And from what we've seen through the first 6 games, this is just this dude's first 6 games in the NFL as a rookie. He is clearly another gem, another diamond in the rough that Ballard has unearthed. And Ballard has had quite a few of them. Our good friend Dan Dakich doesn't seem to think so, but he's always talking that bullshit about Grigson is superior to Ballard because Grigson's teams won more. Don't worry, I got a whole podcast that's coming later this week that's dedicated to figuring out whether that's really true or is Dan just full of shit and saying shit for shock value, as he often does. Sometimes he gets shit right, but sometimes, Dan just be talking bullshit for shock value and to get attention. But Blackman was incredible. Also, the play of DeForest Buckner and Tyquan Lewis was great to see. DeForest, man, that first quarter, DeForest was getting fucking embarrassed out there, man. But the last 3, he just took the game over, man. He was fucking blowing up plays. He got a sack. He was getting hits on the quarterback. I don't know what it took. Maybe because he was feeling embarrassed because he was getting fucking ran over in that first quarter by a Cincinnati Bengals offensive line that was supposed to not be that great. So great to see Tyquan Lewis out there making plays. Got a sack and some quarterback hits. Another thing that was good, let's be real, man. The defense looked like trash the first quarter. Now, that is undeniable. That's undeniable. Like, they look like they all came out high off weed in the first quarter, hungry and tired. I mean, they got ran over. They had no pop. They just looked sluggish and unready to play. But goddamn it, the last 3 quarters, look, they gave up 24 points in the first half, and again, only 3 in the second half. Completely shut down the Cincinnati Bengals in the second half. Took the ball away, got 2 sacks, got another interception. That's 10 interceptions through 6 games. So they came to play in that second half. I don't know if they just need to get that fixed. But also the tight ends were really good. For the first game, we really saw Trey Burton shine yesterday. He had a touchdown catch. He had a touchdown run. And that was beautiful. Which brings up another thing that was undeniably great to see yesterday, and that is, after the first quarter, Frank Reich finally came through with some damn sweet play calling. Like, he had some beauties yesterday, especially when you go back and watch the tape. His use of the Wildcat for that touchdown that Trey Burton ran, he had Trey Burton run the Wildcat and then fake the handoff and run it in. And what was so beautiful about that is that unlike the time they tried to use this in the first game where they had Jacoby Brissett come in for the play, well, here's the problem with that. The defense knows what's coming when you pull Phillip off the field and bring in Kobe Brissett. They know pretty much what's coming. But what they did this time is they just shifted. Phillip Rivers ran over to one of the wide receiver spots. Trey Burton shifted over really quick. They hiked the ball quickly and didn't really give the Bengals a chance to get figured out what they wanted to do, and then they ran the play to perfection. It was beautiful. There were several beautiful plays on the touchdown passes where Reich he just called some great plays. Some that left, that one that got our guy Jack Doyle open for the touchdown was a beautiful play call. Go back and watch it, and you'll see. Frank really shined, in my opinion, for the first time this year in his play calling. Maybe he listened to my podcast last week and heard me going in on his play calling. But for the first time, he really shined. And the last thing I have to say that was really good, this team needed a comeback win. Now, you could say, look, I mean, this is bullshit. They started slow. They got down 21 to a bad team and all that. Look, the offense for the Cincinnati Bengals has some fucking playmakers on it. And Joe Burrows is a hell of a quarterback already. He's going to be a good one. He has the potential to become elite in this league. And, they were coming off an embarrassing loss. So, look, they came to play. So sometimes y'all don't want to give the other team any credit. You think the offense should just go through every team on every drive like fucking Swiss cheese, and the defense should, just shut every team down on every drive. It ain't going to fucking work like that ever. The other team makes plays too. They're getting played, and they got players that can make plays. They have coaches that can scheme up great plays. So, they got down, but man, this was a great thing. They needed a comeback win to give them confidence and to set them up so they know they can do it. They needed to have that confidence in themselves and also in Phillip. And also for the defense to know they could, seal a deal on a comeback win, even though they started sluggish. So that was a great thing. Bad, well, we already kind of talked about this. I mean, this is the second week in a row where we had a really fucked up, slow start for the defense. And this one was even more worrisome than last week, because whereas last week the Browns just really executed and made some incredible plays in the first half, this week, the first quarter, the fucking defense just looked like it just looked like they were high on weed out there. Like they were a step slow. They looked lethargic, sluggish, like they just weren't ready to play. Now, this was a trap game, so maybe that's what it was, but these slow starts for the defense cannot continue because after their game, they go on the road to play the Lions after their bye week. And I'm not saying the Lions are going to be pushovers, but what I'm saying is after that, you got fucking the Baltimore Ravens, you got the Green Bay Packers, you got Tennessee twice. Shit gets real. And so they're going to have to bring their A game and play 60 minutes because assuming that they beat the Lions, which they should, let's assume they beat the Lions, they go to 5-2. Well, those next 6 games are going to be tough as fuck. They need at least 3. They got to at least split those 3. That means they're going to have to win some games against really good teams. And they're not going to be able to do it bullshitting around for half the game. You feel me? So, slow defensive starts have got to stop. The second bad thing, it seems like every week we talk about this, man. The running game's got to get going. Now, they did do better yesterday. Taylor looked better in terms of finding the holes. His vision looked better in the second half. And we do have to acknowledge, if you go watch the tape, you'll see teams are stacking the box against the Colts. And the reason for that, because they know the Colts want to run. They know the Colts have a good offensive line. Last year, they had the reputation of having a great offensive line. They were the 7th best running team in the league, and they were, in the top 3 to 5 most of the season last year. So teams know we want to stop that run and make Phillip Rivers beat us through the air because up until yesterday, he had not really shown with the Colts that he was still capable of doing that. That being said, man, they got to fucking get this thing going from the beginning. Stack boxes or not, you still got to be able to run for more than a couple of yards. I mean, per play, because what's happening is they're getting themselves into 3rd and long, and that's why they've been so shitty. One of the reasons they've been so shitty on 3rd down up until yesterday. Now, yesterday they were great on 3rd down. They were like 7 of 11. They were great in the red zone yesterday, 4 of 4. So that's good to see. But you got to get that defense up and running from the beginning. We got to keep the offense, high powered and high octane, able to go down the field from the very beginning. And, that shit's got to get better. It's got to get better, and it's got to get better ASAP because the teams coming up, if we beat these teams coming up, people won't be able to say, well, look who you beat. These are real deal McCoys coming up. So that leads us to the ugly. And I got to say, man, the ugly yesterday in particular, besides that first quarter of play from the defense, what was really fucking ugly is something that's been bothering me for a while this season. That's these fucking dumbass penalties. Like, we really had some killer penalties yesterday. Like, penalties completely fucking killed T.Y.'s game yesterday. He only had 1 catch for 11 yards officially, but if, we got a touchdown of his call back, 2 long, like 1 run that was about 20, 25 yards of his. We got a pick play called on Zach Pascal that brought that one back. There was another one that T.Y. had that got called back. T.Y. probably would have had 4 or 5 catches for 50, 60 yards yesterday. And instead, penalties fucking killed us. Again, a penalty that took away a touchdown from T.Y. Now, it's not just about it being taken away from T.Y., but a touchdown taken away on a penalty, that shit just ain't gonna work. We had another fucking holding penalty that set us back 10 yards. Like, we can't keep doing that, especially with these games coming up against good and great teams, as Tony Dungy always said. 9 out of 10 times you beat yourself instead of losing. You lose instead of being beat. and you lose by making mistakes, fucking penalties and turnovers. So those penalties, man, they got to clean that shit up. They have a week off to get away and rest and everybody get healthy and hopefully get their minds right, because that shit was ugly yesterday. I think they had 6 or 7 penalties for 70, 80 yards. That ain't going to work, especially against good teams. So that takes care of that part of the segment. And it brings me to the story I told you before I was going to tell you, that really dovetails with Philip Rivers. See, this is why the Bullshit Free Colts podcast was born. So that you can get the 100% straight no chaser, bullshit free analysis of the Colts games, the Colts news, the Colts team, and have it unadulterated and not fucking tainted by the noise, tainted by the narratives that people are throwing around out there. And a lot of times, narratives become narratives because somebody heard somebody else say it, and so they start saying it. When I was the little story I was going to tell you, quite a while ago, I owned a recording studio, and I was learning how to be an engineer. And when you're a recording engineer, one of the most important things you're looking for is you want to get a clear recording, the clearest, most pristine recording of the source that you can, whether it's instruments or it's a person's voice, singing, rapping, whatever. And my mentor, one day we were sitting in the studio and he was telling me, he said, Harkon, always remember this. Anytime you're recording, you're going to have the signal, but you're always going to have the noise. And what you want to do is you want to put all your focus on the signal and cancel out the noise. And he said, you want to remember that not only in the recording studio, but remember that in life. If you want to succeed, you have to focus in on and separate the signal from the noise, because dealing with the signal is what allows you to succeed. The signal being what is true, what is real, what is accurate, what is factual, not what is the story, what is the narrative, what is the rumor, what is the talk. You feel me? So, what happens especially in today's attention-based economy is people latch on to a whole bunch of noise, because basically if the noise is more interesting than the signal, then they will talk about the noise. And so you get all these narratives springing up because people are trying to get your attention. Narratives like Philip Rivers is trash. Philip Rivers is washed up. He's no good. The Colts made a huge mistake signing him. He can't play the game anymore. You ought to cut his ass and put in Jacoby Brissett. Now look, what's real is what's real. And I'm not saying that Philip or anybody else is above reproach. And I'm also not saying that if you play like ass, that we don't call out that you stink. You feel me? See what I did there? But what I am saying is this, that the fucking facts did not support that Philip Rivers was washed up or shouldn't be the starter. Okay? Going into yesterday, he'd had 3 wins and 2 losses. And in those 2 losses, the first loss, he made some big mistakes. He wasn't bad. He was actually pretty good through the game, except for the 2 or 3 big mistakes. The loss last week against the Browns, he was trash in the second half. He made some big mistakes. That pick 6 is one of the worst passes he's thrown probably in his career, much less this year, for sure this year. But he made some big mistakes in the second half. But again, the dude was still like hovering around above 70% completion percentage. The team was 3-2. Now he comes back. Now the team's 4-2. he drops a fucking work of art on your monkey ass with 371 yards, 3 TDs. He did have the 1 interception, but again, that was in a 21-point comeback, down 21 points, and he brings you back with 371 yards, 3 TDs, and I'm telling you, 2 of those TDs were things of fucking beauty. 2 of those TD passes. On top of that, he had the confidence of his team. He had control of the offense. He inspired and instilled and infused his confidence into the rest of the offense out there and picked them up. Because I'm telling you, I looked on that sideline when the fucking Bengals scored that 3rd touchdown and put themselves up 21-0, dropped the Colts into a 21-point hole. I saw on that sideline, those fucking players were looking defeated. And Phillip was, like, nah, we got this. Let's do this shit. And so was the Maniac, by the way. I saw him talking to the defense. So, again, we're 6 games in. Don't fucking be paying attention to the narratives that people are latching onto because they want to get clicks, views, and attention. Don't pay attention to the noise that's going around, the innuendo, the fake narratives, and the made-up stories and all that bullshit, the fucking hyperbole and sensationalism. Pay attention to the signal, to what's real, what's really there, what's really true, what's factual and actual. And that's what will give you the insight into what to expect, okay, from the team. And right now, the Colts are 4-2. They're in the 7th and final position to make the playoffs. At this point, they're still in the race. They're 2 games back behind the Tennessee Titans for the division lead, but they're still in the division race. My guess is that Tennessee's going to falter. They have looked really good, but let's keep in mind, although they're 5-0, 3 of those wins have come 3 points or less, and they've had to kick field goals to win them. 3 of those wins have been like in the final seconds. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I'm just saying they're not as far ahead maybe as you might think. The Colts and the Titans still got to play twice. Okay? So the Colts still have everything they want to achieve in front of them and doable. They're in good position. All right? Don't be fucking getting caught up in some defeatist, cynical, nihilist bullshit. This team is still in good shape. And if they start getting back some of their weapons, I'm hearing that it looks like Michael Pittman Jr. might be back after the bye week. They still might get Campbell back. They're going to get back the Maniac. And, Marcus Johnson is looking like a weapon now. That kid, DeMichael Harris, I think is his name, looked good yesterday. Looked fast and shifty. This team has still got a lot of potential, and the potential to get into the playoffs and make some fucking noise this season. And that has got to be the minimum goal for this season. So pay attention to the signal, not the noise. And I will see you in the next one. Next week, the Colts don't play, but like I said, I still got some good shit coming up, including diving into the Grigson versus Ballard debate. And I mean really diving into it and dealing with, the signal, not the noise. Let's go out. Let's enjoy this next week. To the Colts, well done so far through the first 6 games of the season. To those of y'all who are listening, rest up and let's go fucking take care of business in the next part of the season, the rest of the season. So I'm out of here. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the rest of the good shit I'm bringing you. For you, the fans, and the Colts, you know what I always say when I sign off. Let's go get another fucking Lombardi. Peace.